Warning. It is recommended to all listeners to follow the next steps before hearing these stories. If you're afraid of all the paranormal, but you want to hear these stories because you enjoy the adrenaline, I recommend you don't do it if you're alone. Don't listen to the stories with the lights off. If you are not afraid to hear the paranormal stories alone, make sure that you really are alone. Check that there is nothing weird under your bed or in the closet. Lock the doors and windows. Maybe today you can be a victim of the paranormal. Hello, welcome to the Horror Stories. Today's topic: the Cuco. We all know of El Cuco, the mythological monster our parents all warned us about and sometimes even utilized to put the fear of God into us and make us do their will. In Spain and Latin America, parents sometimes invoke the Cuco as a way of discouraging their children from misbehaving. They sing lullabies or tell rhymes warning their children that if they don't obey their parents, El Cuco will come and get them and then eat them. It is not the way the Cuco looks but what he does that scares most. It is a child eater and a kidnapper. It may immediately devour the child, leaving no trace, or it may spirit the child away to a place of no return, but it only does this to disobedient children. The Cuco is on the lookout for child's misbehavior on the top of the roof. The Cuco takes the shape of any dark shadow and stays watching. It represents the opposite of the guardian angel and is frequently compared to the devil. Sleep, child, sleep now. Here comes the Cuco and he will eat you. The rhyme has evolved over the years, but still retains its original meaning. The bogeyman or bogeyman could be considered an English equivalent of the Cuco, since both monsters attack children who misbehave. Traditionally, the Cuco is represented by a carved vegetable lantern made from a pumpkin with two eyes and a mouth that is left in dark places with a light inside to scare people. The vegetable lantern is similar to the jack-o'-lantern. If you are one who does not believe in ghosts, let me tell you that Cuco existed as a human, and his name was Howard Albert Hamilton Fish, who was also nicknamed the Brooklyn Vampire. To say Fish was one of the most monstrous people who ever walked the earth would be an understatement. He committed murders so horrific that police initially couldn't believe the details of his confessions. Fish was born in 1870 in Washington, D.C., to a family who had a long history of serious mental illness. To put it lightly, their disorders could have filled an entire medical textbook. As a teenager, Fish started to display unusual and alarming behaviors, such as drinking urine and eating feces. In 1890, at the age of 20, he found pleasure in snatching young boys off the street in Manhattan, where he moved with his mother, and raping them. As time went on, the fantasies he performed on children grew more fiendish and horrifying, and often ended in murdering and cannibalizing his naive victims with his instruments of hell. These instruments were made up of a butcher knife, a meat cleaver and a hand saw. He was a real-life Hannibal Lecter. For the next 27 years, he captured, raped, murdered and ate countless innocent children. Although he only officially confessed to the murder of 3 people, he later claimed that during his 65 years as a free man to have hunted and killed more than 100 children in every state. According to Fish, he preyed exclusively on children because they were tasty. He was once quoted saying, "I never ate any roast turkey that tasted half as good." Fish flew under the radar for many years. It wasn't until he murdered 10-year-old Grace Budd in 1928 that things started to take a turn. On November 11, 1934, Grace's grieving mother received an anonymous letter detailing the horrors he committed. "Grace sat in my lap and kissed me," the letter said. "I made up my mind to eat her. I choked her to death, then cut her in small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook and eat it. As if to offer some sort of consolation, Fish told her that Grace had not been sexually assaulted, just killed and eaten. Police were able to trace the paper Fish wrote the letter on back to his residence, where he immediately began confessing to killing the young girl, as well as the others. He was eventually convicted and sentenced to death by electrocution, something he was rumored to be very excited about. To this day, Fish is considered one of the most deranged and wicked serial killers in American history. Undoubtedly, he was the living manifestation of every parent and child in the world's worst nightmare. Good night.